Hi, how are you today? The improved package has arrived. We're having it fitted in time for FP1. Have a look at the factory report.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2017 career mode, episode number 78 today for the Mexican Grand Prix in Season 4. And we come to this weekend with a brand new part fitted to the car, the weight redistribution to the car, the kind of last few minor upgrades we can really do, apart from maybe some drag reduction upgrades and I believe DRS upgrades as well to the aerodynamics. But pretty much everything else is to the point where we're at a major. And of course, with only 4 episodes left, there's really just no point doing the major, so we may as well just try and eke out every single minor upgrade we can do to try and maximize the pure performance of the car. In terms of the reliability, you can see, as we've been banging on about for the last 2 episodes now, we're getting pretty damn close now to potentially having to choose between either taking an engine penalty before the race or just taking a penalty within the race itself in terms of losing some speed with the engine power. We'll have to see how the practice session and qualifying goes in terms of how all our parts are looking, but depending on how we do around here in qualifying, maybe Mexico's a place we take it. I mean, it's been a kind of half and half, hit and miss Grand Prix for me. I feel like last season we had a pretty decent one, but then in the previous season, Season 1 and Season 2, there were horrendous Grand Prix for us here at Mexico. So it's a toss-up between maybe this is a good throwaway race for us to take some penalties, or potentially maybe this is a race where we need to concentrate on trying to maximize our performance and, you know, take the engine penalty in the next 2 rounds where we could do pretty damn well, you know, all things considered, being Brazil and Abu Dhabi. But you can see we're going through qualifying 1 once again, like last episode. Daniel Ricciardo really on it this weekend and completely outdoing me in Q1 then, and into Q2 starting off with a fault then, a sensor fault for the second time I think this season. So the Red Bull team, yeah, they have some few issues with their sensors. I mean, back in Renault it was like brake failures and like fuel issues, and then Toro Rosso had another brake failure in Hungary practice, and Red Bull we've had 2 sensor failures. I think the last one was back at Monaco, I think. So yeah, a specific issue to the Red Bull team. I'm curious about that. I'm not too sure if the game has kind of mapped out specific issues with the car, like maybe Ferrari has their own part that fails all the time in qualifying or in practice and you have to sit out part of it. But yeah, we've had 2 sensor failures, but that didn't kind of spook us or anything like that, because in Q2 towards the end you can see clearly into the top 10 in P4, kind of matching my teammate a little bit more there. But again, Ricciardo in the top 2 then, so looking very handy indeed. Of course, last time out, if you did miss that episode, by the way, be sure to go check that one out before you see the rest of this one. Of course, Ricciardo was robbed of what should have been a pretty easy race win for him at the USA Grand Prix by a mechanical failure. So by the looks of it at the moment, he's looking pretty damn good for potentially even getting pole position. Let's see. But at the moment, we set 1 flying lap in Q3. Wasn't amazing, so we're definitely going to another flying set. And of course, since we used only one set in Q2, then the Ultra Softs, we have 2 sets available to us to use in Q3. But again, noting that we're not doing the alternative strategy we may have done in the past. At Mexico, it's not going to be any use to us because there's so much tyre wear around Mexico that you can't really pull off anything clever by qualifying on the super soft tyres. But anyways, on to the end of our second flying lap then in Q3. At the moment, Ricciardo going well and he's on provisional pole position. What can we do as we come across the line? It's not going to be pole position quite, but it's going to be 3rd place for us today. But Daniel Ricciardo does get pole. You can see a calamity of a qualifying session for Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen, both Ferraris down in 9th and 10th. I don't know what's gone on there. I don't know. It looks like they've maybe got blocked on their second lap perhaps, and they had a really piss poor first lap there, but way down the order, and so that's great for us individually, obviously for me battling Raikkonen for the Drivers' Championship, but also as a team. You know, if you've looked close enough in the Constructors, as a team Red Bull, we've actually been closing up on Ferrari quite rapidly actually, and we have a chance maybe. I thought we had a chance last episode to maybe close up quite a bit, but then Ricciardo retiring really didn't help that out. But this race again, if we were to finish like this, 1 in 3 at least, it would be a very strong finish. And if Ferrari were to finish that poorly, then we could start closing in, maybe mount a very, very late challenge for the Constructors' title. But away from that then, ahead of the race, and you can see on your screen confirmation, I am going to take an engine penalty. I'm taking 1 only for the internal combustion engine. So we won't be starting from last, actually from 3rd place. I think that'll be a 10th-place grid penalty, so we'll start in P13, which won't be actually too bad, because now with the Ferraris in 9th and 10th, actually, they're only going to be a few positions ahead of us. And of course, we have our teammate Daniel Ricciardo on pole freaking position. So he's going to have hopefully a good race, and fingers crossed really that he doesn't retire, because he really deserved that win last time out. So let's hope he can take revenge this time round. But you know, both of us showing the Red Bull cars, much like in real life, showing some very, very excellent pace around the Mexican Grand Prix. So I'm actually looking forward to this one, unlike the last 3 seasons for here around Mexico. I think we can have a very good race, and we'll see what we can do, and hopefully we can try and join Ricciardo back on the podium. But the main kind of task today will obviously be finishing ahead of this man, Kimi Raikkonen. But let's go to the full grid then, and then we'll see how it goes.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Daniel Ricciardo starts from pole position today, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Ocon, Sergio Perez, and Sainz, Vettel, Raikkonen, Palmer, and Nico Hülkenberg, Kvyat, Grosjean, a Red Bull, and Massa, Magnussen, Stroll, Fernando Alonso, and Pascal Wehrlein. Van Dorn and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So from P13 on the grid, we're going to be starting on those ultra soft tyres we qualified in Q2 on, but you can see actually there's going to be quite a bit of rain for this Mexican Grand Prix. Indeed, going to full heavy rain, it looks like, by the end of the race, and having an intermediate period in the middle. So we may not even get to a second pit stop then. I was initially going to make the first pit stop for another set of ultra soft tyres because I figured maybe we could take 2 sets of those to the period where we then switch over to the intermediates. But then I thought we'll go for a little bit of a kind of safer option, more conservative option of the super softs, but we'll also see how the crow flies really in the race. If we feel like if I feel like I can take the ultra soft that long, then we will just change that on the heads-up display and go for a second set of ultra soft tires. But filling up on about 1.1 of fuel then overboard to use plenty of rich mix to try and get us up the order from P13 on the grids. Here we go to 5 red lines for the Mexican Grand Prix, and we're underway, and it is a pretty okay start for us. Everyone seems to have had a good getaway apart from Kimi Raikkonen actually, who bogs down. You can see up ahead Nico Hülkenberg overtaking him on the right hand side, and Grosjean in the Haas also maybe looking to get on the action as we're going nearly 5 wide into turn 1 with the 2 Mercedes cars, and Daniel Ricciardo battling out for the lead of this Grand Prix. We've gone around the outside of a few cars and up into P10 already, to the outside of, I think that's Julian Palmer, no, it's Nico Hülkenberg, as Palmer's actually got ahead of Hülkenberg. Then we dart to the right hand side as some cars still going side by side. Ricciardo's lost the lead of this Grand Prix then. He's down to P2, and one of the Mercedes cars leads the way as now Palmer sent it down the inside of Sebastian Vettel, what do you know, and he's overtaken us. So we're still trying to maybe pinch our car to the inside. Then we might be able to force Palmer wide a little bit here, try and get the traction down. And as we go towards the S section, it's going to be a case of one of us has to lift off eventually, and it looks like it's going to be Julian Palmer as we do feed it to the outside, and we're able to keep it in there, and we're up the order. And now we can try and chase down Sebastian Vettel, but a really great start for us up into P8. Yellow flags though behind us, but Vettel in P7 trying to overtake one of the Toro Rosso cars, who goes down the inside of Perez. It's Sainz then going side by side with Perez, and a virtual safety car has been called out. And meanwhile, this is where our title rival Kimi Raikkonen is, 2 places back behind the 2 Renault cars. He initially got a really poor getaway. It was also being overtaken by Haas, but he looks like he's made up some positions. But you can see there on the left-hand side of his front wing, he's actually got some front wing damage there for Kimi Raikkonen. So that's going to be really poor news for him. So advantage to us, really. We're already ahead of him in this race, and he's got front wing damage. Around Mexico as well, we know, obviously a very unique place, Mexico, being so high up in the altitude, you still run quite high downforce despite being such a long main straight here. So Raikkonen is probably going to feel the grunt of having that kind of cascade element of his front wing off on the left-hand side. Meanwhile, though, we've got some great straight line speed versus Sebastian Vettel with the rich mix flowing there, and we've overtaken him pretty easily then for P7, as it was Romain Grosjean who came across the line to set the fast lap of the Grand Prix. So once again, the Haas car going very well around Mexico. I think every single season they've been pretty damn strong for some particular reason, just only on this circuit. Is now we chase after Sergio Perez, who's re-overtaking Carlos Sainz. Both those guys were going side by side before the virtual safety car. Sainz is locked up then, and so that is our patience paying through there. Just, didn't make a rash decision to dive down the inside of both of them that I could have done, and definitely was open to do that. Instead, I waited in the brake zone, and there you go. Sainz made a mistake trying to go side by side. Double lock up for him, and we're able to get that place easily. And now we can try and chase after Perez quite calmly then, and try and gain some time in the S section. Obviously, last season we were really, really solid through this section, having to lift off a little bit earlier, but trying to get the nose turned in even when we get some dirty air from the car ahead, and that paid off once again as we go neck and neck now between Perez and myself in the stadium section. Although he forces us wide to the outside, I tried to maybe go for a tighter line and a bit of a kind of straighten up the car faster through that hairpin. Doesn't work out for us. Meanwhile, Ricciardo now sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix, so he did lose the lead of the Grand Prix before off pole position. So here's hoping that fast lap of the Grand Prix is him chasing down first place, which was one of the Mercedes cars. Can't quite tell which one it was, though, back on that lap 1 replay camera shot. But now we move through into lap 4, and second time lucky then. And once again, you can see how much we're gaining through that S section, obviously using the Red Bull downforce to good effect. And round the outside we go this time, going a little bit wide, locking up on the right tire, but that doesn't hinder us too much. And now we do the exact same thing Perez did to us. We force him wide to that first hairpin then, and we're up the order. And now we've got some clean air to try and chase after the next force India of Esteban Ocon, who is quite some way ahead actually, as all of us have been scrapping away. But I believe it's Ocon and then the 2 Mercedes cars, and I believe Daniel Ricciardo has actually got the lead back of this Grand Prix. But for us, the fight's not actually over yet, because Perez comes back at us down the main straight. Of course, we're running quite high downforce, 8 wings, and the Mercedes engine, the back of that Force India, working a treat for him, and so he's to the inside for turn 2. We're going to have the inside for turn 3 though, and we'll force him out there, open up the steering wheel, get a little bit wide naturally on the racing line, and we're back up into 5th place. But once again, you can see now this second bite of the cherry for Perez with the second zone of DRS. He goes round the outside, then we broke a little bit early, to be honest, and so that is going to compromise our line. But we do effectively a bit of a switchback move there, getting very aggressively on the curbing on the inside then, and we're to the inside for the double right-hander, and we're going to be back up into 5th. And now I think that will be it, as we storm away on the exit of that traction zone, and we can safely get away from 5th place and try and chase after 4th place now Esteban Ocon, who actually got overtaken by Hamilton. Initially Ocon was in 3rd place actually, so it was a stonking start then for the Frenchman. Meanwhile though, you can see this is Kimi Raikkonen struggling to keep up with the pack ahead of him. He locks up on the right tyre into the stadium section. Now he's being hounded by a Toro Rosso car of I think Danica Fiat and the 2 Williams, so Raikkonen really piss poor showing for him this afternoon. Meanwhile up ahead it's Daniel Ricciardo leading the way from that is Valtteri Bottas in 2nd place, then Lewis Hamilton in 3rd, who I just mentioned overtook Esteban Ocon then, who's now in 4th place, but still going well to say he's in a Force India car, probably the 5th fastest car this season. But yeah, Ricciardo, just like USA, dominating this Grand Prix now, and here's hoping for his sake, you know, knock on wood, that he doesn't have a mechanical failure, because he really deserved a win already this season last time out, so here's hoping he can get it this time round at Mexico. Meanwhile, I'm going to try my best to maybe join him on the podium if we can. We go up the position up into P4 as Ricciardo comes in. He's on a set of super soft tyres now, and as Jolyon Palmer sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix, so the Renault's finally kicking into gear, I guess you could say, on lap 8 as we move on now to the end of that lap, on towards lap 9, and it's only myself and Esteban Ocon, it looks like, who are going to continue on as we now slipstream him. We've got DRS open, rich mix flowing, and he goes very defensive to the left-hand side, to the right-hand side, but it's no use really. Very, very easy move for us, and we're up into P2 then, and a bit of an easy move actually than it was on Sergio Perez. You can see he doesn't put up much of a fight, and we can try and push on now to maybe catch Valtteri Bottas then, who's the last man on track yet to come in for his first pit stop. Of course, we're going to go a little bit longer, I think, as we're closing up now. We're in P1 on lap 10 now, and only now we're coming in. So you would have seen on the default, it was lap 9 we were going to come in. We're now gone one more lap longer onto lap 10. And now you can see on the bottom right there on the heads-up display, I've switched it onto Ultra Softs, because we've gone 10 laps on the first set of Ultra Softs. We're on heavier fuel than we would be now, so the thinking is we could easily go to a second set of Ultra Soft tyres. Obviously, the rain's going to come down for intermediate, so may as well go on the fastest compound available. We'll just go as fast as we can to try and catch up to the 2 Mercedes cars if we can. So we come down the pit lane then, and we'll be into, I would imagine, P4 then. I don't imagine Esteban Ocon is going to be catching us with an undercut, so we'll be comfortably out there, and just the job will be to try and chase after the 2 Mercedes cars. We come out down the pit lane then, and the only man near us is Sebastian Vettel then, so it looks like Vettel has managed to jump Ocon then, and so he's on super soft tyres. Everyone appears to be on super soft tyres. Of course, Ricciardo was on them, and Hamilton is on the top left, you can see, so we've got a tyre advantage in that sense. But through turn 3, bit of a, obviously we come out on cold tyres, and Vettel's on a bit warmer super soft tyres, and he fancies himself to maybe make an overtake on the right hand side. So we go defensive to the inside, going to open up the steering wheel, go wide on purpose, slow it down on the apex then to try and just go as defensive as we can to try and hold that position. And as we move on to the end of lap 11, we catch up to Hamilton, and as we do that, you can see the spits of rain are coming down already right in the middle of your screen. You'll be able to see that blurriness on the screen. The rain is coming down pretty damn rapidly now as Stroll, I think that is, comes into the pit lane eventually from his first set of ultra soft tyres, and now we're getting the speed on Lewis Hamilton. DRS open, rich mix flowing. He's got DRS as well, but you can see with the drag reduction upgrade we had earlier on the season, working well for us, and so we're easily past him then, up into 3rd place on lap 12. So this Red Bull car has been performing an absolute treat. Of course, we saw in qualifying how well Ricciardo was going, and also we qualified in 3rd place, let's not forget. So in stark contrast to the USA Grand Prix, where Ricciardo was the only Red Bull with the pace, it looks like definitely I'm on par at least to maybe try and match him in terms of a podium finish today. I don't know if we can get Bottas. He has about an 18-second gap ahead of us, so that may be quite tricky this afternoon, but we'll see. We'll try our best, but for now we still have to actually worry about Hamilton because he's coming back at us now. Of course, it looked pretty damn easy for us to overtake him last lap, but now the fact that we don't DRS and only he does is going to mean that he comes back down or inside. We're going to have to do some defensive work. We brake a little bit later into turn 2, going very harsh on the apex. He comes back at us though. We brake early and effectively straighten up the car a lot faster now on the exit of turn 3. Then a little bit of a shimmy and shake on the exit there, but you can see getting the straight line speed advantage on him, having straightened up the car a lot faster, and we're back up into 3rd place again to the next section, just going as deep as we can and parking the car on the apex for the next right-hander then before we get to the double right-hander in that first stadium section in Mexico. And we're going to keep P3 and we're going to keep it up until lap 15 now, and I'm telling my engineer it's time to come in. I don't know if everyone else is going to come in this lap. Usually everyone else is coming in when your engineer naturally automatically tells you to come in, but I'm going to manually tell him I want to come in for intermediates because the grip's just not there. You can see in the hairpin locking up and going wide, so I think it's time for the intermediates for sure with the spray. Hamilton continues on, Bottas has continued on, and Ricciardo has as well. So I think I'm the only man at the moment around here around Mexico coming onto the set of intermediates, but I think probably in the next lap or so they're all going to come in eventually. It's just getting far too wet now. So lap 15, so about halfway through this Grand Prix and we're on to intermediate, so just about correct from the weather indicator. But at the moment the rain's sort of not coming down as hard as it was initially, so I sort of think like maybe there's a chance we might not go into full wet tyres. We'll have to see. But we come out then behind the Toro Rosso car trying to overtake the McLaren Honda then, and a whole gaggle of cars actually ahead of them, 3-4 cars actually into turn 1. There's actually been a bit of a mistake then from Magnussen. He's gone wide into turn 1, and that's allowed Kvyat and Van Dorn to go 3 wide with him into turn 3. And we're going to try and go for a triple overtake here, getting to the inside line, obviously using the grip of our intermediates versus their slick tyres, and we are up 3 positions very, very easily indeed. And we're up into P11 now. We can chase down Carlos Sainz, who's also on slicks. Of course, we'll have plenty of grip, and kind of showing that I actually probably chose the perfect time to come into the intermediate tyres. Although, as I mentioned earlier, it's not going to kind of help us to catch Bottas maybe significantly. It just allows us to be comfortably in 3rd place, because I believe Bottas was about 16 to 18 seconds already ahead of us, and then Ricciardo was probably a further 10 or so ahead of him. So you can see there is Hamilton coming down the pit lane, and we're comfortably back up into what will be a net 3rd place eventually. It's P5 at the moment, is Jolyon Palmer, and someone else for some reason thinks it's a clever idea to still be on slick tyres. I imagine probably Hulkenberg came in and disallowed Palmer to come in that lap on lap 17, but definitely time for intermediate. So now we move on to the end of lap 17, crossing the line, and there you go. Eventually it will be Palmer into the pit stop phases, and we're up into P3 once more. Hamilton up into P4, but you can see a very sizable gap. Bottas nowhere to be seen on the mini-map then, and the same can probably be said for Bottas as he chases after Ricciardo. Although, as we move on then later into the Grand Prix, this is Valtteri Bottas coming in now, and he's going on to another set of intermediate tyres. So I initially thought maybe Bottas is going on to full wet, because maybe, I don't know, maybe he knows, maybe him and the team know something I don't know. Maybe it's going to start rapidly coming down a lot faster. We did see the indicator on the weather forecast in the strategy screen did say it was going to rain enough for heavy rain. It has those 3 droplets icons. But now as we go down the main straight, Valtteri Bottas coming out on another set of intermediate tyres, and so we're going to get any slipstream here on the right hand side, use that to our advantage. We've already got a straight line speed advantage anyway as he's coming slower out the pit lane, but he does try and fight back to us down the inside. Of course, he's going to have much fresher intermediates now, but we have made that pass into work into turn 2, into turn 3, parking it on the apex somewhat, and then just focusing on the traction zone on our right foot on the throttle pedal. And now as we look behind us, looks like Hamilton may be trying to fluster Bottas, and so that's going to allow us to go all the way to the end of the Grand Prix. Again, I don't know why Bottas came in, and it looks like the weather indicator was lying to us, because there's no heavy rain to come. We've gone all the way to the end of this Grand Prix on one set of intermediate stickier tyres. The same for Lewis Hamilton and the same for Daniel Ricciardo. So I don't know what happened to Bottas. Maybe he had some front wing damage off a lapped car potentially, but he's down to P3 and we come across the line for an absolutely awesome P2 to match Ricciardo then for P1 to make it a 1-2 for Red Bull Racing. Absolutely fantastic stuff here for Mexico. So just like the real life Grand Prix, Red Bull with some amazing pace around here in Mexico City, and a great race for us obviously to come back from P13 to P2 to not only finish ahead of Raikkonen but to finish back on the podium there after taking a fresh internal combustion engine which we didn't even use. I've just got that banked up and saved now for the last 2 races of this season, so that is literally been a perfect Grand Prix for us. The only way it could have been any better was for us to come in first place and Ricciardo to come in second, but absolutely fabulous for us. We get a lead in the Drivers' Championship still. We extend that lead then, and Ricciardo moves up the order as well to 5th place. And as I mentioned, there was an opportunity to move up in the Constructors potentially, and we do pull in that points gap. And so if we have another race like this for Brazil and Abu Dhabi, you got to say maybe there's a chance. There's a chance that we as a team Red Bull Racing could be still on to win the Constructors' Championship. I mean, personally, I don't ever care about the Constructors. I'm not going to lie. It's not important to me. But if we could do that, that could be pretty damn cool as well, to win the Constructors in the first season with Red Bull. That could be pretty damn awesome. So all in all, a thoroughly enjoyable race weekend for us and a great episode. So guys, smash that like button if you have enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.